Good evening, council members. I'm talking tonight on financial matters. I'm, as you know, a member of our budget committee. I've been on that committee since mid last year. I wanted to give you sort of a brief recap on where I think we stand and some of the problems we have facing us. As you know, with the Eid Bailey and the Kroll reports, we have a lot of financial control issues that we're grappling with. Some of them are, we've seen errors on staff reports, payments are omitted from the warrant list, bank reconciliations are not done or done late or not signed off, contract bidding laws are not being followed, contract payments are made over the not to exceed limits, or spending authority is being exceeded, budgets are sometimes unrealistic, there's no long-term financial forecasting that the city does. We have inadequate financial reporting, chronic understaffing, which we all know about, and occasional non-response to data requests. So it's nothing that we don't already know. So I'm not bringing bad news, but it is a sobering list of things. And as we contemplate doing extra stuff, one thing we have to remember is if you don't get the basics right, the extra is very hard to execute. Having said that, we have another very big issue that's looming, which you probably are not well aware of, and that is we are about to, in fact, are now violating a policy that we just enacted last year, and that is the balanced budget policy. When we did our budget for this year, the budget was balanced. It had 16.9 million revenue, 16.8 million expense. Assuming you approve the legal budget change tonight, which I expect will happen, you will now have expenses up $2 million even versus what was budgeted. Revenues will only be up a couple, 400,000. So you will now have a deficit of 1.5 million, which means we're in violation of the policy that the Budget Committee unanimously approved not too many months ago. So what's that all about? I think going forward, what we need to do is convene a somewhat of an emergency subcommittee. It's obviously up to you to figure it out. I would highlight 4 potential things that this committee should do. Number one, we should enter into no new consulting arrangements until we figure out where we're going to be on budget. We need to freeze the city manager's independent spending authority. We need to prepare a realistic 5-year financial forecast, and we need to revisit our reserve policy so that it's based on sound professional financial analysis. If we don't do this, your Delta Fund is going to dry up by the end of next year, and I really don't know what's going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Creasey.
Okay, so I believe the warrant listing is omitting something that needs to be included because, as you know, Dignity Moves was given a deposit of $5.9 million last June, and from that deposit they have been paying various vendors, including themselves, on a monthly basis since then. That deposit was not a payment for services. It was a deposit to pay for services from other vendors, including, obviously, also Dignity Moves. So the visibility of those payments should be identical to the visibility of payments that the city is making right now in its normal course. Unfortunately, in order to see them, I have to file a Public Records Act request and go through all those shenanigans, which eventually I get. So the bottom line is the same, but the public doesn't see it. You guys don't see it. I made a point which you probably or maybe noticed. I sent an email, but nobody responded to it, so I'm hoping you saw it. But the bottom line is Dignity Moves is paying themselves over $30,000 per month of their development fee. At that rate, they will be all paid off, their entire $500,000 by this August. Obviously, we don't have a shovel in the ground yet, and we don't even have a general contractor signed up, so it's going to be a while before anything significant happens. But you could easily wake up in a few months and Dignity Moves is entirely paid off, and you have a giant project still in front of you. What is going to be their motivation to do a good job when they're basically working for free at that point in time? What is the contingency or leverage you have if they do a bad job? You can't withhold anything if it's all been paid. From a financial fiduciary point of view, it is I called it the height of irresponsibility to pay that vendor all that they're going to be able to charge us basically before any significant service is rendered. So anyhow, long-winded thing, these should be on the warrant listings. It'll save me some PRA effort and save you guys some having to dig for the facts. Thank you.
Thank you.
I actually do have a question.
Thank you. Very quick comment. Number one, great results on that open bid for the paving. And that is my comment, that when you have a true open bid, it's just anybody wants to bid, here's the notice, send us a letter. You get some amazing results because you cannot predict how individual service providers are going to react. Some are hungry for business and they just want to cover their payroll. Others, are super busy and they just want to, make a giant profit if they get lucky. As you probably know, some of you may, you just opened the bid for the lead remediation soil removal project the other day. The low bidder was $123,146, which was less than what Rincon estimated. They said they guessed it would be $160,000. So you picked up a little space there, assuming they can actually do the job, which is still to be determined. High bidder was $363,163. In other words, almost triple the low bidder. So every time you're thinking about, the benefits of continuity versus throw it open to everybody, just keep in mind the typical bid spread is way bigger than you would expect. I ran procurement for some pretty big companies in my career. We used to do procurement bids on a real-time online auction. And we would see prices that we just could not believe were being delivered by very well-vetted vendors who were just hungry for the business for one reason or another. Online auctions are kind of highfalutin, so I'm not sure we need to do that here or could. But just keep in mind, every time you decide, I just want to work with this guy or I just want to have a easy day in the office, you're costing the taxpayers money. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Creasey. Anybody online?
To that point, again, it's hard to really determine why we had that $2 million spread. I mean, we don't know what their business is like. We don't know what their business model is. We don't know, the only thing we could really sort of attribute it to is the size of the company and the work they're doing and the hungry for business, et cetera. So
we used to have a guy who just would bid so high because he didn't want the job,
right,
but he needed to bid
right,
because he was community and he needed to put a bid in, and he would just make it unreasonable. No, no one's going to take that bid, but I threw my hat in the ring as the community expected.
I actually am not in favor of the acquisition of this property for, I think, the following reasons. Number one, as you heard me say earlier, we have a boatload of financial control and management issues that require a lot of attention, and to sign up for a new project while you're not doing a very good job on the basics is not wise. That's one reason. The second reason, of course, is financial. Where is this money going to come from? You just heard me point out to you that we are $1.5 million deficit position this year in the general fund. Our general fund expenses are up 72% over 3 years, while our revenues are up 3% over those 3 years. We are going to swiftly drop below 100% reserve ratio, even if we don't buy this property. If you do buy this property and the money comes out of your general fund, then it goes south even faster. Plus, the $850 is just, walking in the front door costs. Now you've got, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to develop it? All those costs. You've also got, of course, the ongoing management responsibility, assuming you actually get a building there and have some folks occupying it. So it's a lot of work at a time when we really should be focusing on the basics. I'm all in favor of getting the trolley revved up to a very good service, for example, and it's very nice to have one driver, but we got a lot more work to do there. So you have a limited number of employees in the city. and they will always answer the bell. When you say, I want to do this, I can't imagine the city manager saying, forget it, I'm too busy. He's going to tell you he can do it, even though, facts indicate it's not so easy. And finally, of course, the public input on this and planning commission input on this, as far as I know, is zero at this point, other than this meeting. So it feels to me like this would be something that could benefit from a more, well-paced evaluation of the community. But of course, if you do decide to do this, I have a bridge for sale. So Lucas, I'll be contact you about that.